Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari,
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja
Watch out for the
Vihari.
tripod, it's gonna crack. And Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana,
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana,
Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Tira Vanachari, O Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, O Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol,
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Jaya Nityananda Jaya Gaura Hari Nityananda Jaya Gaura Hari
Jaya
Nityananda Jaya Gaura Hari Nityananda Oh Gaura Hey 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 Oh Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe
Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe
Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe
Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe
Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe
Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha
Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe
Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe
Oh Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Oh Radhe 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 Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Ganhavika Giri Hari Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazar Shishivad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazar Shishivad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazar Shishivad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazar Shishivad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishna Naya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Benidustam Sarvabhutam Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparar Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravindanetram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karanaparadram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto our dear most Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidanandanamane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Vrayate, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams. So, continuing with our Jaiva-Dharma study, the second. You sure?
Yes.
Jadedvaita Jnana Hoya Chita Upadaya
Krishna Bhakti Chiradina Upaya Upaya. Such knowledge, which is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected, whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the Upai, means of attainment, and the Upai, goal worthy of attainment.
Actually, in a single verse, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has capsulated the entire philosophy. To reject or become detached completely from this material world and to embrace the higher conception, to replace that attachment. So just in a single verse, he's actually encapsulated the entirety of our philosophy. Jiva kabu jadanai, hari kabu nai, hari saha jiva chintya beda bedamai.
The Jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Keval Advaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. The Jiva is inconceivably different and non-different from Hari.
So this is our subject matter in the 18th chapter. Deha kabo jivan manai,
Dhara
para
Bhogyanai,
bhogyanai,
Dasa Bhogya Jiva Krishna Prabhu Bhokta Hai. The material body should never be considered to be the Jiva, and this earth is not for the Jiva to exploit and enjoy. The Jiva's Swarup is Krishna Das, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, whereas Shri Krishna's Swarup is Prabhu, Master, and Bhokta, enjoyer.
If we could realize a particle of this verse, we would be practically self-realized. Every single word is so profound, really. It's saying the same as the other verses, basically. The Jiva should never consider this earth to be a place for exploitation, etc., to enjoy matter. The soul, how can the soul enjoy matter? It can't enjoy matter. Every time we're trying to force our material senses to be attracted to the material world, actually not forced because we've been conditioned for so long, we just automatically go that weak way now. But we should realize this is nishad, this is a false conception. When we start to appreciate my real identity as a soul, the soul can't enjoy matter. The soul is fully spirit. So why should we waste our time, our precious life, in trying to indulge in something that it can have no success? Jaiva-Dharma nahi ache, Deha Dharma kata, nahi ache Jiva Jnane Maya Vada Prata.
This book, entitled Jaiva-Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the Deva's oneness with Brahm.
So we're really going to unpack this statement about the Mayavada's doctrine of the Jiva's oneness with Maya. This is what we're going to specifically talk about today. Jiva nitya dharma bhakti tahe jadanai, Shuddha Jiva prema seva phale paye thai.
The Jiva's Nitya Dharma is bhakti, devoid of material motivation. The Jiva, purified by seva, attains the fruit of that seva in the form of prem.
Very good. Very good. So coming to our chapter 17. 18, sorry. And we're on page 409 down the bottom. So yesterday, there was many terms introduced, vikar, this transformation, modification. And we discussed, what else? Parinambad. Parinambad. And previously they were thinking it was that Vastu, Krishna, was transforming into all the aspects of this world. But we learned from the 14th chapter in Shakti Tattva how it's Shakti. Krishna is only having these two qualities, this Tantramayata and this Sva-icha-mayata. Svatantramayata and Sva-icha-mayata. These two qualities of freedom and free will. These are the two qualities that Krishna has. And then all of the rest is manifested by the potency of Shakti, Sri Radha, Swarup Shakti. Everything is manifesting from there. So this idea of Vastu Parinambad is not correct. So from Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Nimbaditya, and Ballabhacharya, they were all considering it was Vastu Parinavad, all. So this is why we've been going through this, these four sampradayas, etc. Now, this is another gift of Mahaprabhu. He's come to give so many gifts. His principal gift is to give us entrance into Bhakti Ras. Before there was Bhakti, but there was no Bhakti Ras. Bhakti Ras wasn't there previously. Practically not at all. Mahaprabhu advented to give us this, because Bhakti Ras is only really manifesting when there is Parakiya Ras, this Unnata Ujjvala Ras. This Ujjvala Ras indicates Parakiya Ras. And this is what Mahaprabhu has come to explain. He's come to teach us about Parakiya. This is the nature of the Vrindavan pastimes. Without understanding Parakiya, then what are you left with? Swakiya in Braj. That's not the nature of the gopis' praying for Krishna. This Parakiya is an excellent jewel, the most beautiful jewel. In this world, it's abominable. That's why Mahaprabhu has to come and teach it himself. Because someone who is a Vaishnava, very paka in his principles, etc., is not going to consider that Krishna will enjoy with other men's wives. He won't be able to absorb that conception. So Mahaprabhu has to come himself. And what does he give? He gives constantly the highlight of the gopis' praying for Krishna. The gopis praying for Krishna we've spoken about. The gopis, they want only to please and serve Krishna. When they're calling out for Krishna in their separation moods, they're calling out to him for him to see them. They're not calling out to him for their own pleasure. They're calling out to him for his pleasure. So he will relish their momentary beauty, they're saying. These are young girls, 15 years old, 16 years old. That stage of youth doesn't last very long. The gopis are saying, you should come and see us while we're here, beautiful and young and charming. So Krishna also is trying to please the gopis. So this dynamic of affection between the two is so pure, nirmala. It's completely without any material contamination at all. Otherwise, why would Krishna teach it? Why would Rupa Goswami teach it? Why would all our Goswamis, all our line teach this? But it's a very delicate balance to come across this line of morality that the natural person in this world is feeling in the mode of goodness. He's feeling the regulations of morality. It's there. But we should appreciate this is not about this world. This is about apricot. And it's about the gopis praying for Krishna. And this Raganuga Bhakti that Mahaprabhu is inspiring is an internal process. I've said this many times. It's not to be manifested externally. If we try to manifest it externally, what is that? Sahajiya. You see sometimes in Radhakund, some of the different practitioners, Babajis perhaps, they put on saris, earrings, makeup and stuff. You see that. They're trying to externalize this most sacred, transcendental apricot lila in the external world. The external world is Bahiranga, is that Mayic world. So Mahaprabhu is teaching a very sensitive, delicate message, but he gives us the Mahamantra so that we can actually expand our consciousnesses to understand this. Without the Mahamantra, you will not understand this. Without sober practicing of this Mahamantra will take us away from an attraction to the material world. When the attraction for the material world diminishes, then the internal revelations will start to manifest. Then the beauty and sweetness. So we should, as much as possible, try to be absorbed in Vrindavan Lila. Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtana. Smitya Kramana Rasanam Asidioja. Tishtem Braje Anuragi Janugami. Kalam Nayam Akilam Iti Upadesharam. This is Rupa Goswami's essence of advice. he gives this. Tishtem Braje Anuragi, follow the residents of Vrindavan. Those are the Mahabhagavats. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gokishore Das Babaji. These personalities, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, these are the Mahabhagavats that we follow. These are the Brijbasis. It's not that everyone in Vrindavan is a Brijbasi. Don't ever be bewildered by that. There's so many nefarious activities going on in Vrindavan and in Goradam. Just because you live there and born there, you've got a head start, so to speak. But if you don't practice these precepts, then you're completely unqualified for this. So this is what Mahaprabhu is teaching. And he has to clear the Sampradaya Dara. He has to clear this misconception about Vastu Parinambad. And he has to clear Sankaracharya's teachings because they went so deep. This is what we're going to discuss today, this Vivartavar. This is what Sankaracharya embraced. He said, Parinam, this Vivarta Parinambad, which doesn't actually exist in the Vedas. Vivart is there, but this Parinambad is not there. We're going to find today. Okay, so we're on the bottom of page 409.
Vrajanath, what is Vivartavad, Babaji? There is some reference to Vivarta in the Vedas, but that is not Vivartavad.
Vivartavad, understand, means supporting that illusory potency. It's like Mayavad. The Vad means that person who's supporting that conception. They're supporting the Mayic conception. Vivartavad means Vivarta basically means illusion. So they're supporting that illusory conception. But it doesn't mean that the word Vivarta doesn't exist. It's there in the Vedas, but it's referencing the illusion that the jivas fall into when they be bewildered by the Mayic energy. So Vivarta is mentioned in that sense. But Vivartavad, someone who supports the illusion, what is that? Okay.
Sri Shankaracharya has interpreted the word Vivarta in such a way that Vivartavad has come to mean the same as Mayavad.
Be clear on that. Write it down in your notes. Vivartavad and Mayavad is the same.
The scientific meaning of the word Vivarta is
Now, this is separate, not Vivartavad. Understand? Vivartavad is someone who supports the conception of Vivart. But Vivart by itself is a different meaning.
Atatvato Nyatha Buddhir Vivartattam iti Uddharataha. Sadanand's Vedanta Sutra 49. Vivarta is the illusion of mistaking one thing for another.
Yes.
The jiva is an atomic spiritual substance, but when he is bewildered, he imagines that the subtle and gross bodies in which he is engaged are his self.
That's why when we're practicing our sadhan bhajan, and if you go into very deep meditation, that's an internal realization, not external. We have to realize this because it's the problem today is that people try to externalize their inner realizations. We should just become a little bit private with that inner realization. It's not for the public marketplace.
This bewilderment is ignorance born of lack of knowledge, and it is the only example of Vivarta found in the Vedas.
Yes, it's referencing illusion. Vivarta means illusion, illusory.
Someone may think, I am a Brahmana, Ramnath Pandey, the son of the Brahmana Sanatan Pandey, and another may think, I am the sweeper Madhu, son of sweeper Haruk. But really, such thoughts are completely illusory.
Yes, it's referencing the body. It's not referencing the soul. Jivera Sarup Hoy, Krishna, and this is my identity. But this is not easy to realize. It's the first lesson in Bhagavad Gita. But we can go through our whole life practicing devotional service and not get off the bodily platform. We have to take a serious focus on appreciating my inner identity. My inner identity in relationship to Krishna. Krishna is attracted to our souls. He's not particularly attracted to the body, which is a complete illusory misconception that has come about through my various karmas in this particular birth. And my desires, karma means desire, so my desires to enjoy matter. So actually Rudradev, he gives a body so that you can enjoy matter, but it's illusory because this whole world is temporary. So it's not eternal.
The Jiva is an atomic spiritual spark and is neither Ramanath Pandey nor the sweeper Madhu. It only seems to be so because he identifies with the body.
We have to identify with the body to some degree, right? We have to walk in the street, we have to go to the shop, we have to buy some boga, we have to do all kinds of different things on the bodily platform. But we should realize that I'm on the bodily platform while I'm doing it. This is the point. We can do all these bodily engagements, but at least realize, yes, I'm still on the bodily platform. You know? If we just appreciate that, then it's like we've got our hand on the handbrake. We've got our foot on the pedal. You know, we're not in ignorance. We're not just diving into the material, Mayic misconceptions. Always there's some break. Understand? Always. Always I'm knowing this is not my place for enjoyment. So I'm always a bit reserved about my activities in the material world. I'm always questioning, is this in savor to Krishna? Is this a worthwhile occupation? Or am I just wasting my life serving the government or serving this or serving something else? Is it just a waste of time? We have to consider it. It's not just words. We've got to realize these are not just, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wants us to have realization. Guru wants us to have realization. Realization of these topics. And with realization will come realization of my ultimate relationship with Krishna, who is sitting there waiting.
The illusions of mistaking a rope for a snake and seeing silver in the reflection on a conch shell are similar examples.
Yes, this is the illusion.
The Vedas use various examples to try to convince the jivas to become free from this vivarta, the illusion of identifying one's self with this Mayic body. Mayavadis reject the true conclusion of the Vedas and establish a rather comical theory of Vivartavad. They say that the idea I am Brahm is essential understanding, and the idea I am a Jiva is Vivarta,
You understand
erroneous
that?
understanding.
They think that actually, essentially, they are that Brahm. They are that potency. They don't give that potency a personal description. It's just the power of God. It's the Brahmajyoti. It's the impersonal conception of Krishna. They believe that they are that. And the illusion is that I've become a jiva. That's why he says it's rather comical. I'm not really a jiva. I'm actually that supreme spirit. That's what I really am. You understand? It's kind of humorous, really.
The Vedic examples of Vivarta do not contradict Shakti Parinamvad at all, but the theory of Vivartavad that the Mayavadis put forward is simply foolish.
Yes, it doesn't contradict vivarta, illusion. We are in illusion, so it doesn't contradict Shakti Parinamvad. Understand clearly, what does Shakti Parinamvad mean? It means that the Shakti of Krishna is transforming everything within this world. Understand? It's not that Krishna himself, not that Brahm. You see, it would be this Mayavad. If it was Brahm that was transforming, then I can become Brahm, like the Parinam Vivartvads. Understand? It's beautiful. It's really incredible to consider.
The Mayavadis propose various types of Vivartavad, of which three are most common. Number one, the soul is really Brahm.
When we say Brahm, you understand what that means? Brahm. In Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's books, he's written Brahman. So it doesn't get confused with Westerners' minds of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has a long A. It has a little line over the A. Brahma. You say it with an A. Lord Brahma is totally different from Brahm. This Brahm is the effulgence of Krishna. Sometimes that Brahm is referred to the complete creation of the Lord, the whole total manifestation. It's also called that. But here specifically, we're talking about it as being Brahma Jyoti. So this Brahm is that effulgence of Krishna, which we've discussed many times, contains Vairagya and Gyan, which is an impersonal conception. Okay?
Number one, the soul is really Brahm, but he became bewildered into thinking himself to be an individual soul. Number two, the jivas are reflections of Brahm. Number three, the jivas and the material world are just the dream of Brahm.
Understand that so many people believe this. He's not just saying it like this. So many. I was in Haridwar one time, Haridwar, Rishikesh maybe, and one man brought me back to his ashram, a sadhu type thing, and he had a whole assembly there of devotees, and he explained this whole Mayavad conception to them, and he even made a little sort of diagram using matchsticks to explain it to me. And right at the end, I asked him one question. I said, "Where is love in your whole presentation? To have love, you must have an object and a subject. Where is that object that you are relating to with love and affection?" He couldn't answer. And then I just left. And 4 or 5 of the people, they came and left with me. But this is so many people. But this is a simple question to ask. Where is love amongst? Because without love, there can be no bliss. There can be no sweetness. And the heart is crying for that place of sweetness. And for love, there must be two. It's a verb, to love. It's not singular. The Mayavadis will think, oh, yes, love the void, love the space, love Brahm. Run away from any personal interaction. Become impersonal. This whole world is reflecting that impersonal mood. No one is really respecting one another sufficiently. Therefore, they're fighting. Always. This is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Because they're not respecting internally the feature, Paramatma feature within everybody, and also the subject, the object of Krishna. It's divorced from there. So therefore, there's no respect. And when there's no respect, there can be no love. Understand?
All these varieties of Vivartavad are false and contrary to, to Vedic evidence.
So Vivarta Vad, not Vivarta.
Vivartavad.
Not Vivarta. Vivarta by itself is illusion. And that's the condition of the jiva when he becomes illusioned. But Vivarta Vad, someone who propounds this truth, is enumerated here in these three. So there's a distinction.
Brajanath, what is this philosophy called Mayavad? I am unable to understand it. Babaji, listen carefully. Maya Shakti is the shadow of Swarup Shakti.
Yes, her main potency is Yoga Maya. We're going to be talking about the material Maya of this world. A shadow of Yoga Maya or a shadow of Swarup Shakti. Okay?
It has no entrance into the spiritual kingdom.
It cannot come into the spiritual kingdom. The closest it gets is when Mahavishnu glances towards her. And that glance impregnates the entire material manifestation. Otherwise, she has no business to attract those spiritually living souls in the world towards a material conclusion when they're fully in the Antaranga Shakti, they're fully in the spiritual Shakti. Why should she have any business there? Only Yoga Maya is there. So this Mahamaya is the shadow.
And it is the controller of the material world.
Yes. Why is she the controller? Actually, we are superior to Maya. We are Parashakti. Maya is Aparashakti. Maya is this lower Shakti. I am superior energy. I am Parashakti. Maya is Aparashakti, is the lower nature. It's me, as I said so many times, that chooses to embrace Maya. She cannot touch the independence of the jiva. The jiva independently decides to embrace Maya. All right? It's our choice every time. This is why we can actually purify our existence. If that wasn't there, if I wasn't independent, then I wouldn't be able to purify my existence. But I am independent and I can reject the material attractions. That is what Maya is.
When the jiva is overpowered by ignorance and illusion,
This is what happens. He gets overpowered by tamagun because of desire, like the animal kingdom. They're completely overpowered by tamagun.
when the jiva is overpowered by ignorance and illusion, he enters that material world.
Mm.
Spiritual things have an independent existence and are independently energetic.
We are independently energetic. We have a spiritual separate existence. That's my real nature. But this nishag, this acquired nature, has become subjected to tamagun, rajagun, sattvagun.
But Mayavad does not accept this. Instead, the Mayavad theory declares that the individual soul is itself Brahman.
So we've just discussed that in Vivartavad, right? It's the same thing. Vivartavad and Mayavad is same.
And only appears to be different from Brahm because of the influence of Maya.
It's Maya that's making him feel different.
This theory states that the jiva only thinks himself to be an individual entity, and that the moment the influence of Maya is removed, he understands that he is Brahm.
Okay. Very clear. Clear? Crystal clear. Okay.
According to this conception, while under the influence of Maya, the atomic spiritual spark has no independent identity separate from Maya. And
It's such a violent attack on the purity of the spirit soul to say like this, actually. That's why in the Falshruti it says, what does it say? To dismember the Supreme. It's violent to attack this way. The soul is pure. The soul is independent. And this is saying that he's not. He's just subject to the illusory energy until he realizes his real God nature.
the atomic spiritual spark has no independent identity separate from Maya. And therefore, the way of liberation for the jiva is nirvana or merging in Brahm.
So that's Buddhist doctrine. This is also Sankaracharya's doctrine.
Mayavadis do not accept the separate existence of the pure individual soul. Furthermore, they state that Bhagavan is subordinate to Maya and has to take shelter of Maya when he needs to come to this material world. They say this is because Brahm is impersonal and does not have any form, which means that he has to assume a material, Maic form in order to manifest himself in this world.
So part of it is right, you see. There is no form in the Brahmajyoti. That's all. Everything else is incorrect.
His Ishvara aspect as a material body. The avatars accept material bodies and perform wonderful feats in this material world. In the end, they leave their material body in this world and return to their abode. Mayavadis show a little kindness towards Bhagavan, for they accept some differences between the Jeev and the avatars of Ishvara. The distinction they make is that Jiva has to accept a gross body because of his past karma. This karma carries him away even against his wishes, and he is forced to accept birth, old age, and death.
You see, part of these things are true. We've had to accept a material body because of our past karma. This is a fact. But the Mayavads, they've twisted it around. So they've taken some quality of the absolute truth to make this philosophy stronger. They've taken something from the Veda, and that gives it some potency, because this is correct. We're in this world because of our desires to enjoy matter. That's and living the fruits of our past karma. This is correct. But the Mayavadis, they consider the ultimate truth to be to go back to their own godlike position. This is what they don't accept.
The Mayavadis say that Ishvara's body, designation, name, and qualities are also material, but that he accepts them of his own accord, and that whenever he desires, he can reject everything and regain his pure spirituality. He is not forced to accept the reactions resulting from the activities that he performs. These are all misconceptions of the Mayavadis. Brajanath, is this Mayavad philosophy found anywhere in the Vedas? Babaji. No, Mayavada cannot be found anywhere in the Vedas.
The Vedas
Mayavada,
are completely the absolute truth. The Vedas are Krishna himself. They're the total supreme reality. So there's no conception of Mayavad in the Vedas.
Mayavad is Buddhism. We read in Padma Puran, Mayavadam Asat Shastram Prachannam Baudam Uchyate Mayeva Vihitam Devi Kalo Brahmana Murtina Uttarakand 43:6. In answer to a question by Uma Devi Parvati, Mahadev explains, O Devi, Mayavad is an impure Shastra. Although actually covered Buddhism, it has gained entry into the religion of the Aryans, disguised as Vedic conclusions. In Kali Yuga, I shall appear in the guise of a Brahmana and preach this Mayavad philosophy. Vrajanath, Prabhu, why did Mahadev perform such an ugly task when he is the leader of the Devatas and the foremost among Vaishnavas?
We have to understand this very carefully. I've already explained. It was actually to pull the Vedic teachings back into India after Lord Buddha.
Babaji, Sri Mahadev is Bhagavan's Gunavatar. The supremely merciful Lord saw the Asuras taking to the path of bhakti and worshipping him to get fruitive results and to fulfill their wicked desires. He then thought, the Asuras are troubling the devotees by polluting the path of devotional service, but the path of bhakti should be freed from this pollution. Thinking thus, he called for Shivji and said, O Shambhu, it is not auspicious for this material world if my pure bhakti is taught amongst those who are in the mode of ignorance and whose character is asuric.
They were using the path of devotion for fruitive activities. They
Material.
wanted something themselves from this path of devotion. So that's the pollution.
You should preach from Shastra and spread Mayavad philosophy in such a way that the Asuras become enamored and I remain concealed from them. Those whose character is Asuric will leave the path of devotional service and take shelter of Mayavad. And this will give my gentle bhaktas the chance to taste pure devotional service unhindered.
Yes, those asuras who don't want Krishna, they will be very happy with this Mayavad philosophy, understanding that they are God. We see in the world today, there are great asuras, not so great actually as in previous ages, but there are asuras today who think that they can change the weather patterns. They have like aluminium filings they pour in the atmosphere to reflect the sun, etc., create rain where it's not necessary, and so on. So by these kind of acts, they are considering themselves as the supreme God. They say that technology can be used in. Why do you need to pray? We can provide everything with technology. It's like previously in Russia, when the people would go to the churches, then the government would come with truckfuls of bread. When everyone was starving, they would go to the churches to pray to God for bread. And the government would come with truckloads of bread to feed the people. Say, look, we will give you. Why believe in God? Believe in us. So many atheistic people, they like to have this control. What are the two qualities of a demon? Fear and control. Fear is the principal quality. They want to make you very afraid in all kinds of different ways, like we see in the world today. They want to frighten you, oh, you're going to get this disease, that disease, quick, you've got to take this poisonous injection, something like that. And they're just trying to frighten you so that they can control you. These are the qualities of demons. Go ahead.
Sri Mahadev, who is the supreme Vaishnava, was at first somewhat reluctant to accept such an arduous task, which Bhagavan had entrusted him. However, considering this to be his order, he therefore preached the Mayavada philosophy.
No one else could have done it except Sankaracharya. Sankaracharya is such an exceptional personality. Vaishnavam Yatar Shambhu. He's Swamsa, Bhav Abbas. He's actually Swamsa, manifesting directly from the body of Krishna. But he has the conception that he's a servant of Bhagavan. All the other Swamsas, Nrsingadev, Kurama, Matsya, Varahara, etc., they all have their planetary systems where they are sitting in their own Godhead. They are manifesting their own form as that Ishvara. But Shivji doesn't do like that. He worships Ishvara as Ram or as Sankarshan, etc. This is the mood of Shiva.
Krishna asked, who's Shiva? Sada Shiva from spiritual world or which Shiva?
Shambhu.
Shambhu.
He's saying specifically, oh Shambhu.
Shambhu. So this universe.
Yes, he's come. Shambhu.
This universe.
Yes.
Okay.
Shambhu brings the light into the universe. Shambhu is more superior to Rudradev. Rudradev is manifesting from the from Lord Brahma in his anger. That's when Rudra's service is to incinerate the planets, the Mahapralaya. Shambhu's being requested here very specifically. Good question. It's Shambhu. There's Gopishwa Mahadev, Sadashiva, Shambhu, and Rudra. 4 manifestations of this Shiva potency. So yes, good question. Shambhu, not Rudra. Sri Mahadev, who is the supreme Vaishnava,
Sri Mahadev, who is the supreme Vaishnava, was at first somewhat reluctant to accept such an arduous task which Bhagavan had entrusted him. However, considering this to be his order, he therefore preached the Mayavad philosophy. Where is the fault of Sriman Mahadev, the supreme Guru in this? The supreme Guru in this. The entire universe functions smoothly like a well oiled machine under the guidance of Bhagwan, who expertly wields in his hand the splendid Sudarshan Chakra for the well being of all creatures. Only he knows what auspiciousness is hidden in his order.
yes, it's achintya to us. We don't know. We don't realize this. This is why we have to accept Shastra.
And the duty of the humble servants is simply to
Yes,
obey his
yes,
order.
we understand that's supreme and he's achintya, and we bow our heads in reverence to that.
Knowing this, the pure Vaishnavas never find any fault in Shankaracharya, Shiva's incarnation, who preached Mayavad. Listen to this evidence from Shastra for this.
This was spoken in the very first chapter. Remember to Sannyasi Thakur by Prem Das Babaji. He's saying the same thing. He starts to be very reverential when Sannyasi Thakur is referencing Sankaracharya. The same mood. All Pakka Vaishnavas will honor with great respect Shivji as the Vaishnavam Yathar Shambhu, the greatest devotee of Krishna. This is who Shivji is.
Tvam aradhya tata shambho grahishyami varam sada. Dvaparauddau yuge bhuktva kalya kalaya manusadishu. Swagamai kalpita ishtavancha jnanan mad vimukam kuru. Mancha gopya yena syat shrishte shiron tara. Padma Puran Uttarakand and Narada Pancharatra. Vishnu said, O Shambhu,
A Shambhu again, twice, so it's very clear.
although I am Bhagwan, still I have worshipped different devatas and devis to bewilder the asuras. In the same way, I shall worship you as well and receive a benediction. In Kali Yuga, you should incarnate amongst human beings through your partial expansion. You should preach from Shastras.
His partial expansion is Rudradev. So Shambhu is manifesting his partial expansion. So the expansion in this world is not Shambhu, but he's manifesting from Shambhu. He was requested from Shambhu, and then now he's being requested to manifest a partial incarnation, and that is Rudradev.
You should preach from Shastras like Agama and fabricate a philosophy that will distract the general mass of people away from me and keep me covered. In this way, more and more people will be diverted away from me, and my pastimes will become all the more valuable.
Yes, then only those absolutely sincere seekers who want pure devotion will come to the path of bhakti. Those who are easily influenced by the asuras and not very fixed because of their ignorance, it was describing before, their ignorance and their illusion, they will go the asuric path. And most people in the world today are like that. They're following the crowd. There's an expression in English: are 3 million drunks necessarily correct? You understand? If everyone is running that way, does that mean that's the correct way? No. We have to find, I spoke many times previously about our own individual natures. Don't necessarily look to the crowd. The crowd is not necessarily going to lead you to the absolute truth, even amongst devotees, because all of us have a remnant of our conditioned lives. And if some devotees are weaker and they can't find the strength to focus internally, they will demonstrate all kinds of external activities. You know, many that may seem to be like food for life, building temples, all these things will be under the umbrella of bhakti if a pure devotee has ordered them to do like that. But if they're just doing it out of their own imagination, that's not necessarily Shuddha Bhakti. It will be like Arope Siddha Bhakti, which is considered Bhakti and is not a problem. It just indicates the Adhika. But what I'm saying is don't necessarily follow all these other Arope Siddha Bhakti's examples. Be very clear yourself. What is the supreme fortune for my soul in this age if I embrace Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, Rupa Goswami? What is the best use of my life? Not necessarily what everyone else is doing. We have to find, just like the gopis, I've said so many times, they ran alone to the forest at night. They didn't run with everybody else. They heard the sound of their name through the flute, and they independently, individually ran to Krishna in the forest. And when they got there, they found so many others there. But they didn't run in a group. Groups don't necessarily always lead to the successful conclusion, because the successful conclusion is, Prabhupada says in the 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, one commentary, when you leave this world, you fly in your own plane. One person having problem in his plane can't appeal to anybody else outside. He has to cope with it himself. So it's our responsibility all the way through, accepting responsibility, accepting my personal independence. This is a jewel, both of these things. So if we embrace these and not run away from them, then we'll be successful. Understand? Understand? Okay.
In Varaha Puran, Bhagavan tells Shiva, Esha moham srujami aso ye janan mohe ishyati tvancha rudra mahasaho moha shastrani karaya atayani vitayani darshasva mahabhuja prakasham kuru chatmanam prakashanscha mam kuru. I'm creating the kind of illusion, moha, that will delude the mass of people. O strong armed Rudra,
Yes, you see, it's a nice question that Achyuta asked. I just explained that Shambhu, it's his empowered partial incarnation. So it's Rudradev who's actually taking the role of Sankaracharya. Very clear, there's no doubt about it, because he's mentioned here, Rudra.
O strong armed Rudra, you also create such a deluding shastra. O mighty armed one, present fact as falsehood and falsehood as fact. Give prominence to your destructive Rudra form and conceal my eternal original form as Bhagwan.
This shows, this is just like Rudradev drinking the poison from the ocean. He's so compassionate, he'll do things like this. Even though this is such a untasteful savor, he'll do it in the mood of savor for Bhagavan. This is his greatness. So we should always know this truth to enlighten other people. If they have any misconceptions about Shivji, we should know his great position.
Vrajanath, is there any evidence against the Mayavad philosophy? Babaji, all the testimony of the Vedas refutes Mayavad philosophy. The Mayavadis have searched all the Vedas and isolated 4 sentences in their support. They call these four sentences Mahavakya, the illustrious statements. These four statements are: number one, Sarvam Khalam Idam Brahma. All the universe is Brahm, Chandogya Upanishad. Prajnanam Brahma. The supreme knowledge is Brahm, Aitreya Upanishad. Tattvam Asi Shvetaketu, O Shvetaketu, you're that, Chandogya Upanishad. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahm, Brad Aranyaka Upanishad.
So we should again remember where this truth is in this Jaiva-Dharma, so we can reference it easily. If we want to reference these four apparent Mahavakyas, which Babaji is going to prove are not really Mahavakyas, Sankara has just decided to make them prominent to fit his own um, uh, false conception that will allure all the cheaters. An asura is like a cheetah. He wants ultimately to be God. So all these people that follow this Advaitavad of Sankaracharya, they have that disease of wanting to be like God. So they very easily accept this. A pure godly person will never accept this because he'll accept the personal form of the Lord. He won't accept this.
The first Mahavakya teaches that the whole universe, consisting of the living beings and non living matter, is Brahm. Nothing exists that is not Brahm. The identity of that Brahm is explained elsewhere.
We'll stop here. We'll actually go through tomorrow because this is going to go through each of these apparent Mahavakyas, and Babaji is going to purify each of them and put them into their proper context. Because you might be traveling, for example, in South India, and someone is quoting you this. We should know this philosophy. We should know this Siddhanta and Tattva. We have it. You shouldn't be ignorant on these points. We need to appreciate it for our own journey, and we should actually try to assimilate it so that we can purify others of these misconceptions if we meet someone. You might be sitting on a train, they say, oh, don't you know, I'm God, Aham Brahmasmi, don't you love Sankaracharya? Yes, we love Sankaracharya, but not this conception. So then it's going to be explained here how to dismantle that conception. It's important, especially for brahmachari. You will be expected to know this. My Gurudev was very clear on this, that we should appreciate these Siddhantic truths. Okay, Jaiva-Dharma ki jai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Sankaracharya ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Haribol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Papnibhyo Vaishnaveno. Thank you all so